Introduction, context, and promise of the book. As we step into this exploration of the mind and its incredible capacity for change, it's essential to acknowledge the complexities of our lived experiences. Each of us carries a unique story formed by our backgrounds, challenges, and victories. These narratives create the neural tapestries of our brains, and understanding them is the first step toward unlocking our potential. Consider this. Every habit you have, every emotional reaction, even your darkest moments, those are not the stripes of an immovable fate. Rather, they're simply reflections of choices you've made and paths you've traversed. Your brain, amazing and adaptable, is shaped by those experiences, yet it remains profoundly pliable. Neuroplasticity, the phenomenon that enables your brain to rewire itself, is a testament to our inherent capacity for growth and transformation. Throughout this book, I invite you to take an intimate journey into the heart of neuroscience and self-discovery. Together, we will navigate the intricate networks of your mind, illuminating how thoughts ripple through your neural pathways, leaving traces both light and dark. The promise here is something extraordinary. By understanding and harnessing the principles of neuroplasticity, you can rewrite those pathways and forge a clearer, more resilient future. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Can I really change? Yes, absolutely. And the beauty of it all lies in the science behind it. Imagine waking up with a renewed sense of purpose, equipped with tools to navigate stress, trauma, and emotional stagnation. Whether you're recovering from burnout, seeking mental optimization, or simply endeavoring to enrich your life, this book serves as a gentle guide through the mechanics of your mind. Here's what you can expect. Understanding neuroplasticity. You'll gain insights into how neuroplasticity works and why it matters. Armed with knowledge, you'll grasp the power of your own brain, the mechanics that allow already formed connections to dissolve and new ones to flourish. Practical exercises. Beyond theory, I will provide actionable steps. You'll find exercises designed to target specific areas of your life, whether it be managing stress, fostering creativity, or enhancing your emotional resilience. These are not just abstract practices. They are grounded in deep research. Real stories. The science will come alive through case studies and anecdotes, stories that relate the delicate interplay between neural mechanisms and real-world challenges. You will see how others have faced similar struggles and emerged transformed, inspired to reshape their realities. Emotional depth. We can't talk about neuroscience without acknowledging the emotional intricacies involved. You'll encounter moments of warmth, sadness, reflection, and perhaps even laughter as we delve into the human experience. It's this range of emotions that connects us, grounding abstract concepts in relatable experience. I want you to feel both enlightened and empowered. Every chapter will not only elucidate complex principles, but also serve as a beacon guiding you toward actionable change. The journey you're about to undertake is not merely an academic endeavor, it's a heartfelt invitation to acknowledge the worthiness of your own story. As we embark upon this exploration, remember, every thought is a seed. Some may yield flowers of joy, others weeds of despair. You get to choose which seeds to nurture and which to let wither. This book is an invitation to become the gardener of your mind, cultivating a landscape rich in growth and resilience. I am here to guide you, with both rigor and compassion. Together, we'll strip away the complexities of the mind, bit by bit, revealing the simple truths beneath. You are not alone in this. Every step taken is a communal effort towards a shared understanding of potential. So, let's begin this transformative journey. With each page, May you find the courage to embark on your brain reset, becoming the architect of your own transformation. You hold the power. Let's unlock it together. Chapter 1. The Plastic Brain, the Science of Change, the Myth of Fixed Intelligence. The age-old question, are we stuck with the intelligence we're born with? It's a belief ingrained in many of us, often whispered in the schoolyard and reinforced through academic pressure. You're a math person, and she's an artist. We're told, as if our brains come pre-packaged with a label. But what if I told you that this notion of fixed intelligence is nothing more than an illusion? It's a myth, one that has serious implications for how we view ourselves and our potential. Let's rewind a bit. Back in the mid-20th century, renowned psychologist Edward Thorndike introduced the concept of multiple intelligences. While that was certainly a step in the right direction, the narrative of intelligence being static persisted. For years, many believed that the neurons firing in our brains were like a factory assembly line, rigid, unchanging, and predetermined. If you received a low score on a test, it meant you simply weren't smart. End of story. Or so we thought. The truth, supported by decades of research in neuroscience and psychology, tells a different story. Our brains are not static machines. They are dynamic, malleable, and extraordinarily adaptable. This concept, known as neuroplasticity, shows us that our experiences, thoughts, and actions can genuinely reshape the neural pathways in our brains. Just like sculptors chipping away at marble to reveal a form, we can all reshape our thoughts and, in turn, our very intelligence. Picture it. Every time you engage in a new activity, whether that's learning a new language, tackling a challenging puzzle, or practicing mindfulness, you're encouraging your brain to forge new connections. Neurons that fire together wire together, as the saying goes. So, when you engage with new material or stretch your mental muscles, you're telling your brain, hey, let's grow. That's not simply enlightening, it's downright empowering. But here's where the myth becomes a double-edged sword. Because if we accept that intelligence is fixed, it casts a shadow over our potential for growth. It creates boundaries we feel we cannot cross, and it strips away the motivation to try what lies just outside our comfort zones. Think about it. When was the last time you felt like giving up on a challenging project because deep down you believed, I'm just not that good at this? Each of those moments of self-doubt reinforces the myth, creating a feedback loop that tightens the shackles of our own making. Let's take a moment to breathe. It's okay to feel overwhelmed by this idea. Change isn't easy, and it often isn't quick. We live in a world that rewards efficiency, fast results, instant gratification. But the journey of rewiring your brain, much like learning a new skill, takes time, patience, and practice. Yes, it can be frustrating. Just when you finally feel like you've mastered something, life throws you another curveball. Yet I invite you to consider this. Every time you engage with a challenge, you're in effect telling your brain, I'm ready for more. Those short moments of discomfort serve as evidence of our potential. They are stepping stones toward a greater understanding of ourselves. Research has shown that individuals who adopt a growth mindset, the belief that abilities and intelligence can develop through effort, tend to achieve more than those who cling to that fixed intelligence belief. As you navigate the stories of your own life, remember this: your brain is your ally, not your enemy. It has the potential to evolve, just as you have throughout your life. Allow yourself to embrace failure as part of the process rather than a stop sign. Each setback can be a lesson, not a label. So, what does any of this mean for you, dear reader? It means the power is within your grasp. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. You can shape your brain and your destiny. All it takes is the willingness to engage, experiment, and embrace the uncertainty of the unknown. In the pages to follow, we'll delve even deeper into these ideas, exploring the science of change in relatable terms. I want to equip you with the tools not just to understand neuroplasticity, but to actively harness it for your benefit. There's beauty in the journey of learning, and although the path may twist in unexpected ways, I assure you, it leads to uncharted territories of personal intelligence and strength. Let's step away from the myth of fixed intelligence together and reclaim the truth about our malleable minds. Each thought is a choice, and each choice leads us toward our highest potential. Discovery of neuroplasticity. Once upon a time in the world of neuroscience, there was a commonly held belief that our brains were hardwired like an old, rusty machine, resistant to change and largely fixed after a certain age. But then a remarkable shift began to unravel that myth. It was in the late 20th century when the concept of neuroplasticity emerged, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of outdated dogma, challenging everything we thought we knew about the brain's capabilities. Neuroplasticity, simply put, is the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. It's the very essence of our adaptability, our resilience, and most importantly, our capacity for transformative change. As I delved into the intricacies of this phenomenon during my studies, I felt like an explorer charting new territories, a mix of awe and excitement coursing through me as I uncovered the secrets hidden in our neural pathways. In the past, scientists had observed that brains could change, but they didn't understand the mechanisms behind it. That all began to change when researchers like Michael Merzenich, often considered one of the founding fathers of neuroplasticity, set out to prove that our perceptions were, in fact, malleable. His experiments involved training monkeys and observing that their brains mapped differently after engaging in tasks repeatedly. The results were astonishing. With time and practice, the animals developed enhanced skills in areas that were, at first, foreign to them. Merzenich's work set the stage, but it wasn't until the advent of newer technologies like fMRI that we could truly see the brain in action. Imaging studies revealed that our brains are not only capable of physical changes, but also of reshaping their structure based on experience. It's as if the brain is this exquisite artist, continuously sculpting itself in response to the life we lead. The implications were staggering. If change was possible for monkeys, could it also be true for us? Fast forward to now, and the evidence overwhelmingly supports the idea that our brains are as plastic as clay, pliable and responsive to the experiences we cultivate. I remember a day in my research laboratory when a participant, who had been struggling with anxiety for years, completed a cognitive training program. When I scanned her brain afterward, the results illuminated an entirely different landscape, one previously uncharted and echoing with the possibilities of new beginnings. It was a profound moment, a testament to the power we all have to reshape our thoughts and behaviors. But why is this discovery so essential in our journey toward mental optimization? It's because neuroplasticity underscores a crucial point that often feels elusive. We are not defined by our past. Whether it's the impact of stress, emotional stagnation, or enduring trauma, these elements do not have to dictate our future. Our experiences are not etched in stone. Rather, they leave traces on this ever-evolving canvas that is our brain. Neuroplasticity offers a profound sense of hope. It suggests that we have agency over our minds, capable of rewiring negative thought patterns and building new habits that promote emotional wellness. Have you ever noticed how, after a particularly joyful day, your mood lingers well into the next? That's neuroplasticity at work, your brain creating new connections that reinforce positive emotions. And conversely, those darker moments? They leave their mark, too. But with the right tools and commitment, we can learn to navigate toward a brighter horizon. This brings us to the foundational behaviors that catalyze neuroplastic change: mindfulness, learning, and purposeful practice. Engaging in activities that stretch our cognitive limits fundamentally alters our neural circuits. For example, picking up a new instrument or learning a new language isn't just about mastering a skill. It's about ushering in neural growth, quite literally reshaping how our brain collaborates in real time. So, as we journey through this book, remember that every thought, every intention, and every action contributes to the rewiring of your brain. The discovery of neuroplasticity invites a radical rethinking of our potential. In a society that frequently praises stagnation, I challenge you to embrace the exquisite chaos of change. Allow yourself to explore the beautiful malleability of your mind. Consider this. What if your past does not define you? What if you have the tools to craft your future narrative from the very architecture of your brain? Each stride we take towards self-improvement isn't merely a step, it's a leap across neural pathways, a chance to reclaim the vibrancy of our minds. As we dive deeper into the science of change throughout this book, keep this thought close. Your brain is an evolving masterpiece, fully equipped to change as you do. Embrace it. Nurture the possibilities. And most importantly, wake up to the magnificent truth that you hold the blueprint to your own mind's evolution. Brain Architecture 101. Understanding the brain isn't just about knowing its parts. It's about grasping the intricate dance of connections that breathe life into every thought, feeling, and action. Picture a bustling city where each street represents a neural pathway and every building, a group of interconnected neurons. This city never sleeps. It's constantly under construction, reshaping itself based on everything we do, feel, and learn. Welcome to the urban sprawl of your mind. Let's start with the basics. The human brain, though weighing roughly 3 pounds, is an incredibly complex organ made up of approximately 86 billion neurons. These neurons, the building blocks of our cognition, communicate via synapses, tiny junctions where signals pass from one neuron to another. It's here, in the microscopic spaces, that the magic of neuroplasticity unfolds. Simply put, neuroplasticity, a term coined in the mid-20th century, refers to the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize itself in response to new experiences, learning, or even injury. It's important to remember that the brain is not like a hard drive, fixed and unchangeable. Rather, it's an ever-evolving masterpiece. Think about the last time you learned something new. It could have been picking up a hobby, mastering a skill, or deepening your understanding of a complex topic. Each of these experiences reshapes the connections in your brain, reinforcing pathways that promote growth and potentially weakening those that no longer serve you. Here's how it all ties together. Neurogenesis. This is the process of creating new neurons. While traditionally thought to primarily occur during development, recent research has shown that we can generate new neurons even in adulthood, especially in regions like the hippocampus, key to learning and memory. Synaptic plasticity. This is about strengthening or weakening the synapses based on activity. The more a pathway is used, the stronger it becomes. Ever tried to ride a bike after years away from it? You might wobble a bit, but those connections are still there, waiting to be reignited. Arming ourselves with this understanding of our brain's design enables us to engage with our mental landscapes in a more profound way. Every thought creates a pathway, every emotion reinforces it. But here's the kicker: those pathways can be unlearned. Yes, it feels a bit frightening, doesn't it? To think we might be responsible for rerouting our internal highways. Consider a scenario you might relate to. You're constantly replaying a negative experience or a word of criticism lodged deep into your psyche, a mental snag that catches and holds you back. The neural structures corresponding to those emotions grow stronger with each replay. But just as with a fence that has fallen into disrepair, we can begin to dismantle those entrenched thoughts, effectively reclaiming that space. Now, I don't mean to simplify what's often a complex emotional tapestry. Emotions and memories are not just erased, they're transformed. In psychology, this process is often referred to as reframing. With consistent effort and the right strategies, you can create pathways that lead to healing and resilience. Strategies may include mindfulness. This practice allows you to become aware of existing thoughts without judgment, enabling the potential to let go of those that weigh you down. Cognitive behavioral techniques. This technique helps you recognize and challenge those pesky cognitive distortions, allowing for healthier thought patterns to emerge. Positive affirmations. Reinforcing good thoughts can give you practical reminders of your progress and capabilities, which will strengthen the more productive neural alleys you wish to build. Emotional resilience, then, is not about being impervious to hardship. It's about developing the capacity to bounce back, to shift and recalibrate. It's about realizing that your brain is a living, changing organism, no matter your age or circumstances. As we journey through this book, remember that the act of rewiring isn't a race. It's a slow unfolding, much like a city evolving from a small town to a sprawling metropolis. Rebuilding takes patience, trial and error, but each step is a blessing. The promise of neuroplasticity is that, whatever your current state, the raw materials to build a more vibrant brain are already within you. So, take a moment to appreciate the magnificence of what you possess. Your brain, infinitely complicated yet beautifully resilient, stands ready to adapt, learn, and thrive. Each moment offers a chance to build a new connection. The road to brain optimization is not merely an intellectual pursuit. It is, at its core, an invitation to rediscover your potential and rewrite your narrative. Chapter 2: Mapping the Mind. How Thought Becomes Behavior Neural Pathways and Habits. Imagine your brain as an intricate city, buzzing with traffic along countless pathways. Each road you travel represents a neural connection formed through experiences, thoughts, and habits. Some routes run smooth and wide, well traveled by the daily commutes of your thoughts. Others? They lie dusty and overgrown, scarcely used. But here's the fascinating truth. With intention and practice, we can clear those paths and even carve out new ones. Neural pathways, as they're scientifically known, reflect the input we feed into our minds. They're formed through a process called myelination, where the insulating material, myelin, wraps around nerve fibers, enhancing signal transmission. Think of myelination as adding layers of paint to a well-loved garden fence. The more layers you apply, the more vibrant and defined the colors become, a testament to every interaction and experience. These pathways don't just exist in isolation. They form intricate networks that define how we perceive our world. When you engage in a repetitive action or a thought process, your brain strengthens the connections between those neurons, making them more efficient over time. Have you ever found yourself mindlessly reaching for that last cookie after a long day? That's your brain reaching for the shortcut that's become all too familiar. On the flip side, whenever you attempt to forge a new habit, whether it's engaging in mindfulness, exercising, or cutting back on sugar, your brain has to work a little harder, carving new paths through the dense underbrush of old habits. This process can feel clunky and awkward at first, I know. It's like stumbling through a new city without a map. But with persistence, the fog begins to lift, and soon, those new pathways become clearer and more defined. Understanding the intricacies of neural pathways is crucial for behavior change. Often, we find ourselves caught in cyclical thinking patterns, known as automatic thoughts, the nagging beliefs and judgments that bubble up without our conscious approval. Many of these thoughts stem from past experiences, which solidify into habits that dictate our daily lives. So, how do we begin to reshape these neural landscapes? The answer lies in intention and practice. Here's how I approach this transformative journey. Awareness. The first step is acknowledging your existing thought patterns, recognizing which pathways serve you and which ones lead to frustration or stagnation. Journaling can be a powerful tool here. Write down those automatic thoughts. Seeing them on paper often exposes their flaws. Challenge and reframe. Once you've shed light on those negative or limiting thoughts, it's time to challenge them. Ask yourself, is this thought true? How might I see this differently? Replacing unhelpful thoughts with constructive ones requires effort, but, like any new habit, it gets easier with time. Create new experiences. Engaging in mindfulness practices can facilitate the formation of new neural pathways. Mindfulness isn't merely about relaxation. It's about enhancing your awareness of the present moment and fostering a sense of openness. Practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or even taking quiet walks in nature create opportunities to forge fresh connections in the brain. Consistency is key. Building a new habit takes commitment. Research indicates that it takes, on average, about 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. So, let's say your goal is to wake up earlier to meditate, set small, achievable targets, and gradually adjust your routine. Each successful morning becomes a landmark on your brain's new map. Celebrate small wins. As you begin to succeed, however incrementally, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. Every step matters. Each positive action reinforces connections and strengthens your resolve to continue. You might be wondering why this matters beyond the realms of habit formation. The incredible power of neuroplasticity lies in its profound ability to foster resilience. As you learn to navigate those uncharted pathways, you cultivate emotional resilience, adaptability, and clarity, empowering not just your actions, but your very sense of self. In moments of stress or burnout, knowing that your brain is wired for change is nothing short of liberating. Each connection you create offers a glimmer of hope, a tangible reminder that you hold the pen to rewrite your own narrative. So, to sum it up, your thoughts are the architects of your neural architecture, and with intention, practice, and a sprinkle of courage, you can break ground on a new blueprint for your life. Trust in the process, and allow your brain to astonish you with its capacity to change. Remember, every thought is a choice, and today offers a renewed chance to choose deliberately. Dopamine and decision-making. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter that's often touted as the brain's feel-good chemical, is so much more than just a simple pleasure molecule. It's a complex player in the intricate dance of decision-making, motivation, and reward. In many ways, dopamine is the compass guiding our choices, pointing us toward paths that promise satisfaction and fulfillment. But what happens when that compass starts to skew or mislead? To dive into this, let's begin with a simple scenario. Imagine you're standing in front of a line of enticing desserts after a long week of rigid self-control, perhaps cradling a brief moment of reflection on your dietary goals. Your gaze dances over a slice of heavenly chocolate cake, and as it registers in your mind, a rush of dopamine releases, igniting a myriad of thoughts and feelings. What a decadent choice. Your hands might start to betray your intentions. This is how dopamine unfolds, associated with anticipation as much so as with reward. When our brains predict something rewarding, or we have an expectation of pleasure, dopamine surges. This surge fuels our motivation, encouraging us to pursue whatever sparks our desire. But the kicker is that this process doesn't only govern our indulgences, it shapes our decision-making landscape. We often think of decision-making as a rational process, a logical weighing of pros and cons. However, the truth is far messier. Decisions are often spurred by emotional currents, and dopamine plays a significant role in steering those emotional ships. It doesn't just push us toward rewards, it also creates a kind of neural shorthand based on prior experiences, which can impact our choices in unexpected ways. For instance, let's say you've experienced the thrill of victory while playing a video game. Those moments triggered dopamine kicks that danced merrily through your brain, reinforcing the idea that gaming equals fun. The next time a friend mentions a new game, your brain connects the dots quickly. Fun game equals dopamine rush equals more playing time equals positive experience. Your mental map gets an update. In that moment, you may not consider the potential downsides, like time lost or other opportunities missed. Instead, the dopamine-infused anticipation glosses over those details. Now, consider what occurs when you repeatedly chase activities that provide quick dopamine hits, like scrolling through social media or indulging in junk food. Over time, those paths become worn and preferred, much like a well-trodden trail in a forest. This habitual hunting for immediate gratification not only reinforces old connections, but may also shift the way you perceive long-term goals. The brain craves the immediate, a trait hardwired within us, stemming back to our ancestors who needed to make quick decisions for survival. This particular dopamine dynamic, the quick fix versus long-term benefit, shapes a fascinating contrast in our decision-making processes. We often find ourselves caught in this tug-of-war. How many times have you thwarted your better judgment because that fleeting moment of joy was too enticing to resist? Perhaps after a stressful day, you opted for the crunchy, divine potato chips over cooking a nourishing meal. Confronting this dynamic isn't about depriving ourselves of joy. Instead, it's about cultivating awareness and understanding how our neural pathways can adapt. Awareness is the first step to empowerment. By consciously recognizing the dopamine cues, how they drive our decisions, we can begin shifting our strategies. Let's look at neuroplasticity at work. Our brains literally rewire based on our habits and experiences. When we reroute our habitual pathways toward healthier choices, perhaps aiming to savor that chocolate cake mindfully instead of absent-mindedly consuming it, we help build new connections, reinforcing that mindful eating becomes its own rewarding experience over time. Transforming dopamine's influence on decision-making starts with small, intentional changes. Here are a few approaches you might consider. Mindful reflection. Before engaging in a decision, take a moment to pause. What is the short-term versus long-term outcome? How does each option make you feel? Set small goals. When craving a reward, design small, actionable steps that lead to meaningful change. This could mean choosing a better option like fresh fruit after indulging in a rewarding dessert meal. Celebrate progress. Recognize and celebrate when you make choices aligned with your longer-term goals. Your brain will reward you with those much-needed dopamine hits for the healthy decisions too. Through understanding dopamine's role in our decision-making, we arm ourselves with tools to navigate this terrain more skillfully. As we engage in more conscious decisions, we gradually retrain our brains, giving ourselves permission to experience joy not just in the short term but with a perspective that embraces lasting fulfillment. The brain is a beautiful tapestry of interconnections, and with careful attention, we can create new pathways that lead us to a rich, rewarding experience of life, one decision at a time. How thoughts become physical. Picture this. Your mind is a bustling city, with thoughts flitting around like cars on a busy highway. Each vehicle represents a belief, a memory, or a fleeting notion, merging and diverging at intersections, creating patterns that become second nature. But what happens when you realize that you can not only navigate the city, but also redesign its roads? That's where the fascinating world of neuroplasticity comes into play. At one point in my research, I was particularly struck by a study that demonstrated how our thoughts can manifest as physical changes in the brain. Researchers used fMRI imaging to show that when participants engaged in specific mental tasks, neural connections strengthened and new pathways emerged. It was as though each thought was choreographing a dance, coaxing the brain to reconfigure itself. This finding elegantly illustrates the profound truth. Our thoughts sculpt our brains scaffold by scaffold. Let's break this down. When you think a thought, your neurons communicate through electrochemical signals, sending messages that fluctuate between excitement and inhibition. Each thought triggers a cascade of neurotransmitters, tiny chemical messengers whispering within the brain's vast network. So when you feel worried about a deadline, for instance, your amygdala, the stress center, lights up. This boosts hormones like adrenaline, preparing your body for fight or flight. It's an innate response that makes complete sense. Our ancestors depended on it for survival. But in today's modern world, those primal signals can lead us astray, hijacking our ability to think clearly. Now consider this. If our brains are adept at forming and reinforcing these paths, can't we just as easily create new ones? Here's the exciting part. Yes, we can. Through consistent practice, we can strengthen new connections while diminishing old, less adaptive ones. This is where the magic of deliberate thought and action comes into play. By identifying unhelpful thought patterns and consciously replacing them with constructive alternatives, you effectively begin rerouting the traffic in your mental city. Here's a simple example. Let's say you often think, "I'm not good enough." This thought can easily turn into an emotional spiral, self-doubt, anxiety, perhaps even avoidance behaviors. But what if you reframed that thought? What if instead you considered, "I am learning and improving every day"? It's not about pretending or ignoring reality. It's about shifting the lens through which you view yourself and your capabilities. With time and conscious effort, you will start to notice tangible changes, not just in how you think, but how you feel and ultimately behave. Embrace this idea. Our thoughts are not just ethereal musings. They have the capacity to reshape our very biology. The brain remains malleable well into adulthood, which means we possess the incredible power to cultivate resilience, clarity, and confidence. You're not a passive participant in your life. You're the architect of your mind. Consider mindfulness practices as an example. Regular engagement in mindfulness meditation has been shown to physically alter brain structures associated with emotion regulation, attention, and even compassion. Neuroscientists have observed increased gray matter density in regions like the hippocampus, an area crucial for learning and memory, among those who practice mindfulness. This isn't merely academia at play. It's a powerful reminder that with intention and practice, you can foster emotional strength and cognitive agility. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. Habits, once established, can feel like relentless chains, tugging at us with magnetic force. The key is patience and persistence. Think of your efforts like training for a marathon. The early days may be grueling, but with every run, every incremental improvement, you'll find yourself stronger. I encourage you to take notes from your own reflections and experiences. Keep a journal to track moments when thoughts shift dramatically, from debilitating self-critique to encouraging affirmations. Document how your feelings evolve as you redefine your narrative. You'll be surprised at how quickly you start to see and feel change. As we wander further into this journey through the mind, remember, your thoughts are the architects of your experiences. Every choice, every emotion, every action reverberates across the neural landscape you're continually shaping. Embrace the scientific elegance of neuroplasticity. It's not just a topic of academic fascination, but a call to action, a reminder that your mind is a canvas waiting for your brushstrokes of intention. Your journey to rewiring your brain begins here, with the understanding that thoughts, once mere whispers, can indeed become the powerful foundation for your reality. As we continue, let's delve deeper into the strategies you can employ to harness this potential fully. The possibilities are as expansive as your imagination, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Chapter 3. The Reset Process. Breaking Old Circuits, Identifying Mental Loops. In our complex inner worlds, we often find ourselves trapped in mental loops, circular pathways of thought that lead us to the same conclusions, feelings, and ultimately the same outcomes. These loops can feel comforting, as if we're wrapping ourselves in a familiar blanket of predictability. But like old, worn carpets, they can just as easily become suffocating, hindering our growth and leaving us stagnant in our emotional journeys. Let's take a moment to explore what these loops actually look like. Imagine this scenario. You wake up, feeling a sense of unease creeping in. Perhaps it's an impending project at work or a lingering worry about a relationship. Instead of addressing that unease directly, your mind begins to whirl. You might replay the same anxious thoughts over and over, examining every angle, every possible outcome. Does this sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. This repetitive cycle, where we spiral through fears and worries, is anything but uncommon. The brain's default mode network kicks in, and it tends to cling to the familiar, good or bad. Here are some common mental loops you might identify with. The what-if spiral. What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? This loop often starts with one small worry that multiplies into a flurry of catastrophic possibilities. The regret cycle. If only I had done this differently. What was I thinking? This loop traps you in a series of past mistakes, often overshadowing the present. The perfectionism trap. If it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. This mindset can stop progress before it starts, making the fear of imperfection paralyze your actions. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free. As a cognitive neuroscientist, I often remind my students that awareness is power. When you catch yourself in one of these loops, pause. Take a breath. Acknowledge that this is just a thought, a loop that is formed through many repetitions, but doesn't have to define your reality. So, how do we begin to identify these loops? It begins with curiosity. I encourage you to observe your thoughts throughout the day. Keep a thought journal. Track recurring thoughts that spin into loops. What triggers them? How do they make you feel? Simply writing them down can help you see patterns. Mindfulness meditation. Practicing mindfulness can enhance your awareness. When you notice your mind wandering, gently bring it back. It's not about eliminating thoughts, but rather noticing them without judgment. Reflect on emotions. Emotional responses often signal a loop. Ask yourself, what am I feeling and why? Understanding your emotional triggers can reveal where the loops lurk. Finding the root of these loops often requires self-compassion. It's easy to judge ourselves for being weak or inefficient when we find ourselves stuck. But remember, these loops have likely formed over years as protective mechanisms. They're part of your neural wiring, yes, but they don't have to dictate your future. The beauty of neuroplasticity lies in our ability to change those circuits. When you identify a negative loop, consider it an invitation to rewrite your narrative. It could be as simple as substituting a self-critical thought with a compassionate one. I am doing the best I can. Or, when you find yourself wrapped in a what-if spiral, try shifting to a what can I mindset. What can I learn from this situation? What can I control in this moment? This process isn't about perfection, it's about progression. Each small shift can create ripples in your neural pathways, opening up new possibilities for thought and behavior. In time, you'll find your mental landscape becoming more diverse and vibrant. In the end, breaking free from mental loops is akin to being an artist of the mind, boldly reimagining your mental canvas. As you practice this identification, you embrace the potential for change. It's in recognizing these loops that we reclaim our ability to choose, to create, and to evolve. Remember, you're not merely a bystander in your own life. You are the architect of your thoughts. Embrace that power and watch your reality begin to reshape itself. After all, every loop you identify is a step closer to a fresh pathway, one that leads to resilience, clarity, and a renewed sense of self. Breaking the loop. We often find ourselves caught in loops, thoughts that spiral into repetitive patterns, emotions that recycle the same narratives, and behaviors that seem stuck on a never-ending track. It's like living in a maze where every turn leads to familiarity, but never to freedom. There's a certain comfort, albeit a false one, in these established circuits. Our brains savor routine. It's safer in the known than in the chaotic realm of change. But what happens when that comfort becomes suffocating? Breaking the loop begins with awareness. You might ask yourself, what are these thoughts cycling through my mind? Or, why do I keep reacting this way? These questions often ignite a spark of curiosity, an essential first step in recognizing that those neural highways, once thought to be unchangeable, are simply paths worn down by habit. This recognition is the doorway through which neuroplasticity allows us to step into a new experience. Imagine your brain as a dense forest. Over time, certain trails become evident through frequent use. They become the defaults, the pathways of least resistance. You navigate them so often that you might forget there's an entire landscape of unexplored terrain just a few steps away. To break the loop, you need to consciously forge new pathways. This requires intentional effort, like taking a machete to the overgrown branches of that mental forest. Start each day with a simple practice of observing your thoughts. Notice when you fall into that familiar cycle. Is it the early morning worry about your busy day ahead, or perhaps a nagging feeling of inadequacy? Name these sensations. By giving them a title, you're creating a buffer, a small distance between the thought and your emotional reaction. This is critical. When you recognize a thought as just a thought, an ephemeral event in the vast spectrum of your experience, you reclaim a sense of control. You see, while we might not have the power to dictate the thoughts that first enter our minds, we do hold the reins when it comes to our reaction to them. Mindfulness is not merely about emptying the mind, it's about observing without judgment. When you pay attention, you begin to break the automatic loop and bring your awareness to the present moment, where new choices arise. Imagine standing in front of a choice. Do you take the familiar path or dare to venture into the brush of uncertainty? Choosing to step into the wild can be daunting, but every time you do, you excavate a new pathway. Here's where the magic of practice lies. Engaging in small, mindful shifts on a daily basis can lead to remarkable transformations. Think of it as reprogramming your internal software. Want to escape a thought loop? Shift your focus to a new activity. It could be as simple as taking a different route to work, writing in a journal, practicing yoga, or even learning to cook a new recipe. Each of these activities invites creativity into your routine, which, in turn, demands neuroplastic adaptations in your brain. We're often told that change is hard, but this is an outdated notion. Change is not necessarily hard, it's unfamiliar. And just like anything else, the unfamiliar can become familiar through repetition. It's the brain's way of self-protection. It prefers the known, but there's profound beauty in the unknown. It's there that we create new connections, challenge old beliefs, and build resilience. Another powerful tool in breaking the loop is self-compassion. When you stumble back into an old thought pattern, because let's be real, it happens, don't beat yourself up. Instead, practice gentleness and kindness toward yourself. Acknowledge your humanity. Of course I reverted back, you might say. I'm a work in progress. Remember, it's the repeated act of kindness that teaches your brain to reshape itself with compassion rather than criticism. And, trust me, our brains thrive on kindness. Consider also the role of your environment. The people you surround yourself with greatly influence your neural pathways. Positivity, motivation, and encouragement resonate deeply with our cognitive structures. Engaging with others who are also striving for change can create a supportive feedback loop, which further supports your brain's capacity for transformation. You might ask, how long will this take? The answer is as varied as the individual seeking change. Consistency is key. Whether it's days, weeks, or months, gradually, you will find that those once dominant circuits lose their grip over you. And if you stumble, embrace the momentum of learning rather than seeing it as failure. Each stumble is a stepping stone toward clarity. In closing, breaking the loop is not just about eliminating old thoughts, it's about expanding your mind's horizon. Embrace the discomfort that comes with change. Cherish the practice of forging new pathways. With each mindful step, you're not merely breaking the loop, you're crafting a life rich with potential, the potential to innovate, to grow, and to experience the full spectrum of what it means to be human. The passage may be slow, but every small effort is a triumph against the confining nature of old circuits. So take a deep breath. Embrace the uncertainty. Celebrate the small victories, and remember, every choice you make is a pathway toward a renewed mind. Rewiring for growth. Let's take a moment to reflect on the significance of our neural circuits. Imagine your brain as a dense forest, where some paths, those we walk on repeatedly, become well-trodden trails. Each thought, each habit we engage in, deepens those grooves, making them easier to traverse while simultaneously overshadowing the less used, but equally vital, byways. With time, these established routes become our default settings, shaping not only how we think but how we feel and act. But here's the incredible news. You hold the keys to that forest. Neuroplasticity teaches us that not only can we find new paths, but we can also redefine, reward, and reimagine the terrain itself. When we consciously rewire our brains for growth, we begin to replace outdated paradigms with fresh perspectives that cultivate resilience and clarity. So, how does this rewiring work? It starts with awareness. Awareness is that slippery, ongoing dance between noticing our automatic responses and questioning them. When you find yourself bracing for a stressful conversation or slipping into negative self-talk, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this response serving me? Here's where intention comes into play. After you shine a light on your habitual reactions, you can set intentions that guide you toward a more constructive outcome. For example, let's say you typically respond to feelings of inadequacy with self-criticism. Instead, choose to respond with self-compassion. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice and, dare I say, patience. Just like nurturing a newly planted seedling, your new patterns require time, care, and a commitment to nurture them as they grow. Now, I know that these shifts aren't always easy. Life has an uncanny way of reinforcing our old habits, even when we're in the midst of striving for change. Thus, creating a supportive environment becomes paramount. Surround yourself with nourishment, be it people, resources, or practices that align with your growth. These elements act as scaffolding, helping you to build and maintain your newfound circuits until they are strong enough to stand on their own. Additionally, we can use practical tools to facilitate this rewiring process. Mindfulness practices. Engage in meditation or focused breathing exercises to ground yourself and create space for reflection, allowing you to observe your thoughts without judgment. Journaling. Put pen to paper, not just to document your experiences, but to explore your thoughts. Journaling can serve as a form of dialogue with yourself, helping to articulate intentions and confront barriers. Positive affirmations. Start each day with statements that reinforce your commitment to growth. These affirmations become like tiny sparks that illuminate your path forward. Visual cues. Post reminders in your spaces, sticky notes on mirrors, or meaningful quotes that resonate with your journey. These reminders can serve as captivating signposts along the way. Transformation isn't linear. It's a beautiful, chaotic symphony of setbacks, revelations, and growth and evolution. As you dive into this arena of change, be kind to yourself. Celebrate small victories, and remember that progress often hides beneath a veil of discomfort. When you don't see immediate results, that's okay. It might just be part of the unfolding. To illustrate this point, allow me to share a story. A former student of mine, Sarah, navigated her journey of burnout. She was trapped in a cycle of relentless perfectionism, convinced that the relentless pursuit of excellence was how she defined her worth. But we embarked on a project together, a reset. Through mindfulness and self-compassion exercises, she gradually trained her thoughts to pivot from criticism to acceptance. Over time, she began celebrating enough instead of striving for more. The shift was subtle at first, but it gained momentum as she developed new pathways of self-acceptance and resilience. Today, she embodies a balance of ambition and kindness, not only to herself, but to those around her. Every journey of rewiring is unique, richly colored by the individual experiences that define us. As we continue this exploration, I invite you to think of one habit or mindset you would like to change. Picture the paths you've walked, the obstacles you've encountered. Then visualize a new route, less worn, perhaps even overgrown. With intention, dedication, and a dash of courage, you can make that trail your new reality. Remember, the power to reshape your brain lies not solely in the intention to change your thoughts, but also in the daily choices you make. The journey ahead is bright, filled with possibilities waiting to unfold. Let's not shy away from the beauty inherent in the process. It's complex, it's messy, but above all, it's astonishingly transformative.